how and when is a good time to tell my kids that the grandparents that they've grown up with their whole lives are not my biological parents?
Tell me the story.
So I'm going to read from my notes. My mom was from out west, and my dad is from Georgia.
Where's out west? That's a southern thing. Out west.
I know.
Where's that? California?
I know. No, not that far. Just Missouri. But to me, that's on the other side of the Mississippi, so it counts.
Otherwise known as central United States. But cool. Out west. All right. Over that away.
So my dad was traveling for work, and they met, I guess, at a concert or a bar or something, and they started dating. Next thing you know, they're pregnant with me, and so my dad, moves her to Georgia, and then they get married before I was born. So then after I was born, they had 2 other daughters within 3 years, and then they were divorced before my youngest sister was 1. So I stayed with my mom until, my dad got remarried when I was 6, and then I stayed with her until I was 7, and then my dad got custody of us. My relationship with my mom wasn't very healthy.
Yeah, why did your dad get custody? That's very rare 10 or 15, 20 years ago.
There was a lot of physical abuse.
Okay.
My mom had a lot of boyfriends that would come in and out, and
So was there different kinds of abuse than just physical abuse?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
hold on, exhale for a second. That's a big one. That's a big one. And you've been blown by that one your whole life. Okay.
Okay. So, of course, obviously my relationship with my mom wasn't healthy. So in the state of Georgia...
hold on. I want to reframe that. Can I reframe that for you?
Of course.
Your relationship with your mom wasn't healthy is a very arm's length way of saying my mom didn't protect me. And that's her one freaking job.
Yes. I'm trying to be diplomatic.
We're not going to be diplomatic when moms abuse kids.
Okay.
Or moms create environments where kids are allowed to be hurt repeatedly over and over. We're not going to be diplomatic there because that's evil and it's wrong.
Yeah.
And you, being a sweet Southern gal, are raised that diplomacy is the only path. And diplomacy often means burying truth as deep as you possibly can.
Yeah, that pretty much sums up my whole life.
And then you end up feeling crazy. And then you make kids, and those kids know mom's carrying something in the backpack. They don't know what it is, and they try to solve it, and then they grow up crazy.
Yeah.
And the cycle continues, right?
Yep.
Okay,
hopefully not anymore.
There you go. That's what I'm talking about. And then one parent turns and says, it stops with me.
Yeah.
Dude, I'm proud of you.
Well, thank you.
Okay, so what did you find out?
Well, okay, so fast forward. I guess it's important to note that I call my stepmom my mom. So that's why my kids don't know about my biological mother.
Okay.
And so I haven't spoken to my biological mom since I was 14.
Okay.
So I think she knows I'm married because of my sisters, and I think she knows I have children, but we've never made contact.
And can we pause right there? Can we talk about how much that hurts too?
Yeah.
She still hasn't reached out to say, I want to meet my grandbabies.
Yeah. I mean, in her defense, she tried for the first few years, especially after I got married and my first job was born. But we shut her down.
Good.
She tried to reach out on Facebook. So
she learned her lesson. All right, my bad here. Okay, keep going. Good for you, holding boundaries. Way to go.
So then when I was about 3 years ago, when I was 29, I took an Ancestry DNA test because I was going to England and I wanted to find out where I was from in England to hopefully visit. And I didn't get that information at all. I was matched with my biological father, and he's also from Missouri, so I don't have any recent history from England, which is unfortunate.
So you found out the traveling salesman who knocked up your mom was actually not the guy?
Correct.
And so the man who had full custody of you and who raised you and whose new wife raised you as their own are not your biological parents?
Correct.
Okay.
So it took a couple of weeks, and finally I just decided I wasn't initially going to reach out. I felt like that was kind of betraying my dad if I reached out to this biological family. But
Does your dad know about all this?
Yes, sir.
What'd he say?
Yes. My dad was really weird. He kind of keeps it at arm's length again. He says, we'll talk about it as much as you want to. Or you can tell me as much as you want or as little as you want.
Did he know?
His approach. He said that he had suspicions because I'm a couple inches taller than him. I'm, fair-skinned and blue-eyed and light hair, and he's a quarter Choctaw Indian, so he's, darker complexion, darker hair. I didn't look like them. I don't look like anybody in my family. So he suspected it, especially as I was a teenager and I started getting taller. But he said that, and he had thought about getting me tested, but ultimately he decided it didn't matter that he was my dad. So
can we sit on that? What an absolute stud.
Yeah, for sure.
And I know dads don't say things right, and they often, in moments of emotional challenge, they reach into their toolkit and there's just like a chisel in there and a hammer, and that's all they got in there.
Yeah.
But here, how old is your dad?
He'll be 54 this summer.
Okay. A mid-50s man reaching into his bag and trying to grab for a tool and saying to his daughter, I am here for you as much or as little as you need.
Yeah.
I don't mean to say this. I don't mean to give anybody a pass, but that's about as great of an answer a 55-year-old man can give.
Yeah.
I won't solve this from you. I won't take this from you, but the moment you want me to help carry it, I'm here.
Yeah, and he's been really great throughout the whole thing.
Okay.
And even though I was terrified to tell him.
Yeah.
So eventually I reached out to my biological father, and I just had some questions, did you know about me? Did you choose not to be in my life? Do I have a, genetic disposition for cancer, or what I mean? Just
what'd you find out?
Well, according to him, we only die young if we get hit by a train, because I guess his uncle got hit by a train and he thought he was being funny. He didn't know about me. He did remember my mom because her first name is his last name, and it was kind of out of character for him too. It was a one-night stand at a party, and it sticks out in his memory, but he did not know about me.
Do you believe him?
I do.
Okay. After
having met him, he's definitely that would be out of character. He's actually a good person. Like,
great.
It's worked out best case scenario for how this could have gone.
That's just, I don't hear that story very often, so that's awesome. And yeah, I'm assuming, I'm hoping that he's like, oh my gosh, I have a daughter, and we have so much to catch up on, and you feel like you mentioned, you're betraying the guy that was your ride or die, and the mom that stood in the stead of your mother and who chose a different path and different boyfriends and different life. And you're worried about how to tell your kids?
Yeah. I mean, at the end of our first conversation, I was like, you have a family, you have a whole life. I understand if you don't ever want to talk again. I just needed to ask these questions. And he was like, oh, no, absolutely not. Like, if you're interested, I would most certainly like to become a part of your life.
Okay, so I want you to hear the question you really asked him. Now that you've met me, do you want to know me? And he said, you're my daughter. You're damn right I do.
Yeah.
Mom didn't answer the question that way.
No.
Your stepdad, I mean, you're the guy you call dad did. Your bio dad did when they given a shot.
Yeah.
In a messy situation, I can't think of a greater response by the two men in your life.
Yeah.
And that doesn't feel super great all the time. Have you wandered
Yeah,
around
exactly.
asking if you're an accident on the planet? Why am I here?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. That is something that,
Okay.
because I knew, that they
How old are
only
your
got
kids?
married because of me.
How old are your kids?
They're 8 and 6.
If you ever wonder why am I here, get on a knee and look both of them in the eye and put your hands on their face and put your forehead on their forehead and just whisper to them, y'all are why.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah, it was definitely, that question has plagued me my whole life.
I know. I know.
And I made sure that my children, like when you have parents who do things wrong, you always try to overcorrect. And
That's right.
I made sure that the conception of my children was intentional and that, I wanted them and that I was ready for them. And
Good. All right, so here's, how old are your kids right now?
So they're 8 and 6 right now.
Okay.
And they're kind of starting to put 2 and 2 together.
Yeah, not as much as you think they are.
Okay, cool.
Have they gone to meet Bio Dad yet?
Yeah, we've gotten to know them pretty well. We've visited them in Missouri, and they've come here, and we've gone on trips together. And
Oh,
things
wow.
like that.
Okay, so y'all are okay. So maybe they are starting to be like, hey, you look like that guy.
Yeah.
Why do you call that guy Dad? Why do you call? Why do you call him Dad?
Yeah.
Okay. Do they know about that your mom is sick?
Nope.
Your bio mom?
Nope.
Okay. That's the words I would use.
Okay.
The woman who's my real mommy was really sick when I was little. And she made me very, very unsafe. Why? What happened? That's a grown-up conversation. But she made me very, very unsafe. And my dad came and rescued me. And my mom, she filled in the gap. People are good.
Yeah.
And I found out later that the man that rescued me, I thought he was my birth dad. He's not. This guy actually is. What? So I get 2 dads.
Okay.
What? I get 2 dads and I get 2 moms. And as they get older and they begin to ask more sophisticated questions, then you get a little more sophisticated in your answers. Okay, I want you to do something really weird. Are you standing up right now?
No.
Okay, stand up real quick. Stand up and literally wiggle your arms. Shake them out. Just shake them out.
Okay.
Will you hear me directly when I say this, okay?
Okay.
You're a great freaking mom. And none of this has been your fault. And you are here to break a cycle of an entire family system. And the good Lord has smiled on you and given you 2 dads. Jeez Louise, man. If I could hug those 2 dudes, they're not perfect. Of course, they're goofballs, but they said when they saw you, they're like, I'm in.
Yeah.
And the only thing you can change about your story is what happens next. And I want you to start with you and your husband get together, maybe go for a breakfast like I always tell everybody to do. And I want you to write out, here's what will be true with our kids. They will always know they can come home. My kids will always know that there is no question that's too big for me. Even if my answer is I don't know.
Yeah.
They will
ask.
Always know that they're loved. Yeah. And they'll know there's nothing wrong with their bodies, and this is how bodies work, because bodies are awesome.
Yeah.
And for whatever it's worth, my 9-year-old the other day, there was a neighbor who just had a baby via C-section, and my daughter said, what's that thing on? She had like a wrap on. She was outside, and I said, oh, she had a C-section. You know, normally how baby comes out of your vagina, but this one, she had to have surgery. And then she's like, oh, yeah. And she goes, oh, that's sex. And I go, yes. And don't forget, sex is awesome. And she's like, ugh. Okay? I'm trying to completely demystify it in my house.
Yeah,
But,
I think that.
But more importantly, I want my daughter to know there's nothing my dad won't talk to me about.
Yeah.
Cool?
Cool.
You are an amazing, amazing woman.